I belong to you.
I belong to you.
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I always be wrong when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Put you down. Sing all my melodies.
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to H Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 133. I apologise for being late. The show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, you're home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So give us a follow on social media. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Can't tell you how important that is to subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and of course, give a like and a thumbs up on Facebook and YouTube to all the different shows as you're watching, because that helps us find new viewers and get higher up the search engines on those various platforms. And of course, if you like your podcasts in audio form, then you can just search Ace Podcast Nation on your favorite platform. And there's over 400 shows on various subjects with a lot of top guests. And if you want to keep it football on the socials, follow at AC Footy Show on all social media platforms, and that will streamline your experience. But just as we do give the latecomers, they'd have to be really late after I was late, but give them a bit of a chance to catch up. Big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever for their support around the show and the channel. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, visit their social media pages and their website, links to which are in the description below and the closing credits at the end of the show. And today's sponsor, as usual, I'm very pleased to say that it is Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial. And Darren is giving away a free will at the moment worth £140 with any new policy which is taken out. Please check him out. Give him a call. Don't miss out on what is just a simply incredible offer, particularly with the world the way it is now. It's a great time to get yourself covered, look after the family. And of course, when you do give him a ring, tell him that we sent you. He's looked after Andy for various policies over the years, including the critical illness, the injury cover. They're truly top of their field. It's not just a jazzy slogan. They provide award-winning service. And we are very, very proud to partner with such a top-class brand. And long may it continue. And we thank them as ever for sponsoring the show. But let's get into the football. It's been a long week of football news. Started like a hurricane at the beginning of the week, and then quickly died death the next day. But we'll talk about that probably a little bit, and among other things. But the man, the myth, the legend, the goal collector, the fox in the box, the speed demon, the QPR dream killer, Davy Jones, his favourite son, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell's here. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you very much. Good week. Some interesting football. On terms of championship, I know we're going to cover it, but some absolutely unbelievable results for certain football clubs, and things are starting to unravel a little bit, which is nice. I think it's going to be a really interesting end to the season. Looking forward to it.
mate, Norwich have had such a weird week. Like they've lost 2, I think, is it? And like they still, they celebrating promotion, and Wickham are clinging on.
Yeah.
Barnsley, and not giving up that playoff place no matter what.
No.
It's incredible to
it's
see,
gonna be
mate.
great.
Brentford
Yeah.
are struggling. Got loads to talk about, but we'll have a quick chat about the Super League. Obviously, Monday we all looked like it was like this game-changing thing, and then it quickly died a death, mate. 24 hours later, when those clubs realised not only did they not have the support of their fans, which I think they probably expected, but they didn't have the support of the media, ex-players, journalists, people like Fergie, even their own managers, Klopp and Solskjaer, and all these different managers speaking out, club captains having a meeting. It was over before it even began, mate, wasn't it?
Well, I think we spoke on Monday at length about the distance between fans and football clubs, and now I think it's very evident that the distance between club owners and football fans is even worse, and there's never going to be that kind of link, because football owners are these kind of people who go into a football club and they don't really want to relate to fans. They don't really care what fans think. And that was really evident with the decisions that they're making. They don't really care what players think. So, you know what I mean? I would fully understood this kind of decision if they'd have had a meeting internally and decided that they were going to go through with this Super League as long as they had the players and the managers backing. If they haven't got the players backing, it was never going to happen. You know what I mean? The players came out, especially United players. I've never seen tweets from Luke Shaw, tweets from Jesse Lingard, tweets from Marcus Rashford. Big name players, England internationals, are telling football clubs that they're making the wrong decision, and rightly so. You know what I mean? So players are coming out there, then fans are going to back the players because the fans care. An absolute shambles. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I'm glad that I don't have to discuss it anymore. I'm glad that we don't have to see the impact on football, because I'm not bothered about the Premier League. The Premier League would have worked itself out because there's money involved at that kind of level. League 2 would have died a death. League 1 probably would have died a death, and the Championship would have been like a League 1 stroke.
Pointless.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So
it would have become Scottish football, mate, wouldn't it? Basically,
it would have been horrible, because it would have been it would have been a disaster, because money doesn't filter down now. So it would never filter down to the Championship, and clubs of the overheads, like we've talked about, Cardiff City, £3 million a month. You know what I mean? These kind of clubs would not be able to carry on without somebody pumping money left, right, and centre, and it's never going to happen.
Just a quick note, we're going to do a couple of Tell Me Whys now in a minute, and one of the subjects which I'm about to talk about is in that. But just on the Ryan Giggs thing, we are going to talk about it, but also he's been charged. Try and keep it relatively, clean, less offensive and I don't know. He hasn't been found guilty of anything yet, so I want to be very careful.
And it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one as well, because innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, he's only been charged.
You know what I mean?
I say only, but you know what it is.
Innocent until proven guilty, and also with it's a difficult one to say things when we're on here, because
of course,
whatever we say on here, we're liable for people to come back at us and say because there's proof. So I think it's a difficult subject to go and cover. Really, you know what I mean? The evidence is when he's found guilty. You know what I mean? Until then, it's a difficult one.
Well, the question I've got, so we'll go straight to the Tell Me Why, where you've got 60 seconds to answer, and I am going to ask you about Ryan Giggs, but I'm asking you in terms of what do Wales do? So from the football side, he has been charged now. He's not been found guilty of anything. I think it's important to say, but he has been charged of, let me get it right so I don't get it wrong. He's been charged of assaulting 2 women, including his ex-girlfriend, and coercive or controlling behaviour. So my question is, mate, and it's not an easy one for you to deal with in 60 seconds, but I'm going to put you on the spot, is what should Wales do? Because obviously we've got the Euros coming up in the summer, which means they have to focus on, how the football. They have to. But is he going to be the manager? Should he be the manager? Should they wait? It's a difficult one. You've got 60 seconds to tell me about it, my friend. Let's go.
Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed from yesterday to the day. You know what I mean? For me, all it is charges are being made. Charges were always going to be made because there's evidence there. You know what I mean? There's evidence there from 2 people who've given their evidence. You know what I mean? And until he's given his opportunity to throw his side to a court and to a jury, you know what I mean? So for me, Wales, I've got to keep him in charge, but I think he'll be on garden duty or garden leave or whatever you're calling it, whatever he's in now. Robert Page will be the manager. He will manage from within, wherever he is remotely. But I think it's just a difficult scenario because you've got a huge football tournament coming up in the summer, and until that court date ends, I don't think that we can have a resolution or have a final answer of anything, because it's innocent until proven guilty, and we've got to remember that. We've got an individual who's got to be given an opportunity to defend himself.
Spot on, mate. 5 seconds left, so I'll let you off that. I think my one question, I suppose, or not one question, but one of the things I keep asking myself is, obviously, Wales want to do as well as they can in the tournament. They have a pretty good squad of young players. Is Robert Page the right man to take them forward into the tournament? Should they bring someone else in to do it? It's obviously that's a risk, because you could upset what they've been playing relatively well recently. Like, if you bring someone else in with the eyes that if Giggs does go, that person is then there to take over. Because let's be honest, Robert Page is not going to get the job on a full-time basis. I wouldn't have thought. No. Should they bring someone else? Should they bring someone in to help Robert Page with a bit more experience, or potentially who they've got in mind for the job if Giggs does go? It is tricky.
It depends. It depends how much of a role Ryan Giggs is playing now. Nobody knows. Everyone just sees Robert Page fronting it all. You know what I mean? How much is he doing? You know what I mean? Is he picking the squad? Is he picking the team? Is he doing all the tactics? If Ryan's still doing all this stuff, then Ryan's still doing 90% of the things. Robert Page is just doing the training. He's doing the day-to-day stuff, which he enjoys. I just think we've got to take a little bit of a step back, and not prosecute somebody until we have the full story. And you know what I mean? That's bang on. You know what I mean? I'm not saying every case is very different. Of
course it is.
And there's obviously some kind of evidence there. You know what I mean? I'm guessing that there's no smoke without fire. However, there's two sides to a story as well, and I think we need to remember that sometimes. And I'm not sticking up for him because I don't know him. I don't know him as a person. Obviously, I know him as a footballer. You know what I mean? A lot of people idolise the man, but if he's done wrong, then the outcome will come, and he'll get a fair hearing. And if he's guilty, then he'll get dealt with.
Yeah, you got to let the courts deal with it. At the end of the day, as such is, I think what people should be careful of as well is, like, in these situations, it is very often one person's word versus another, which makes it very difficult for the police, for things to navigate. Like, and I'm not saying either way, whether either way is lying, telling the truth, whatever. I have no idea. I've got know nothing about it. I haven't even read up that much about it. But I think people should be careful just assuming because he's been charged that he's guilty, because over the years, how many times have people been charged? Charges have been dropped for all sorts of reasons. And also, by the way, if the charges were dropped or he gets, the court case gets thrown out or whatever, that's not to say necessarily that he was completely innocent of everything either, because there's also things that happen that caused that to happen as well. There's lots of different... It's a very complex subject. But from a footballing point of view, I think Wales, someone said in the chat, I think it was Craig, said Wales have said that Rob Page is going to be in charge. I think that's probably the right call. I think it would be a lot of disruption to bring someone else in, and you could risk, if the players don't take to that person straight away, you don't want to be going into a tournament trying to bed in someone completely new.
You've got,
and like you say, mate, you don't know if Giggs is still you. He could still be picking the team, doing the tactics. It's just Robert Page just relaying it. It's just
we don't know. We don't know if they've got some kind of device in the changing room where Ryan's on TV doing the screen and doing the team talks. You know what I mean? If that's in the hotel, listen, the modern devices and the modern things up what's going on at the minute, that we can do anything. Anything's possible. So for me, remotely, there or not, with managers, that these things can happen. And I just think it just depends how much rope he's been given by the Welsh FA. Has he been told to stay away? Is he not allowed to do anything, or is he allowed to manage the team from where he is? It's just it's a difficult one, and it's but it'll have to be unravelled very, very soon.
Yeah, Holgate, that makes a good point there. He says people have been sacked for a lot less over the years. It's for the optics of the club and the game. And that is a good point. Like, Wales have been quite understanding and patient, I think, in terms of they've given him the time off to go and sort it one way or the other. Whereas a lot of other clubs or nations might have just said, right, we're going to move on to something different. And just a quick note, Rob Boyle makes a great comment. He says, on the note of temporary managers, buzzing for Ryan Mason having his career cut short due to that horrific injury. But this weekend, he's going to be leading his boyhood club out at Wembley as manager. So can't fault that. That's the happy, good side of the football, isn't it?
But Si, I think the bigger picture for me on to finish the Ryan Giggs thing, I think we've also got to look at Ched Evans, right? And look at what happened to Ched Evans.
Absolutely.
And look at the bigger picture. Ched got found guilty. He wasn't guilty.
Lost his career.
He lost a big chunk of his career. He's had to get trust back. He's had to get his life back. And Ched's probably in a position to defend Ryan a little bit and say, listen, you know what I mean?
Just
innocent
wait
until
and see.
proven guilty. Just wait, you know what I mean? Because there's loads to come out, I'm sure. But let's just be fair here with people, because Ched's a person, you know what I mean? Regardless what was said about him in court, out of court, whatever happened. Whatever didn't happen. I'm not saying anyone's innocent or guilty. All I'm saying is we've got to give people an opportunity to defend themselves and get their point across.
Yeah, spot on, mate. And I think just on that Ched Evans thing, like, he lost these peak years in his career. He would have a lot of Welsh, he'd have a good chunk of Welsh caps, because he was at the point, he was broken into the Welsh team, and he had, he was banging goals in for fun, and he was doing very well for himself. He was on the peak of having a big move. Do you see what I mean? And
I totally agree.
It's difficult. Gavin, unless I'm unaware of something, I believe Adam Johnson's a completely different issue, because as far as I'm aware, he was guilty. So, yeah,
different
thing, isn't it?
Different cases as well.
Ched Evans' conviction was overturned, wasn't it? And he was found not guilty. So I think that's a tricky one. But the second tell me why, mate, is what could the impact be on English football as a whole if the FA were to heavily punish the Big Six with a points or relegation to make a statement to make sure it doesn't happen again? Because let's face it, I think we all know at some point it will rear its head again. They've just basically said they're going to go away and think about a better way to do it. So your 60 seconds starts now, mate.
I don't think anything will happen. I'll be honest. I think the Big Six have that much power. Because if the Big Six decide to go on strike, for example, and run their own TV channels, so Sky Sports can't do things, it'll have an impact on the Premier League. It'll have an impact on other things. I think they have that much power, and they've showed the power. By the way, they've shown the power in walking away from a Premier League, which is the biggest league in the world, by the way, to go and do a separate league. So they've shown how much power they've got, and that power doesn't go away overnight. I just think sometimes you don't need the battles, and you don't fight battles which you can't win. And for me, these clubs are bigger than the Premier League. The Premier League needs these football clubs within it. You know what I mean? So if you're going to start upsetting people, I don't think it'll ever happen again, because I think fans have showed their disbelief about the decision which is made. The players obviously don't want to be in it. And I think next time when a conversation is had within a club, players will vote with their feet and walk away from that football club.
Indeed, and your time's up there as well. I think the thing with it is what you punish them for.
Exactly.
Have they broken wrong. Any rules? Maybe bringing the game into disrepute and stuff like that.
And who
you can't make
punishing?
Up rules to punish them, can you?
Who are you punishing, Si? Because if you fine them, yes, you're punishing the owner, but you're also punishing the club and the players, because that money could be the budget for next season. The season.
Well, the thing is, mate,
you know what I mean?
Unless it's 100 million fine, it doesn't really make a difference. To
exactly.
That.
If you give a points deduction to a club, you're hurting the players and the manager and the fans. Those three haven't done anything wrong. So the punishment has got to suit who's made these decisions. So if the punishment is towards the owners, ban foreign owners then from buying into Premier League without a long contract to say that they're staying in the Premier League. I don't know. But what I'm saying is you can't punish fans, you can't punish players.
But then you could say that about Rangers. You could say that about all the different clubs who've had these massive punishments over the years. Like, the fans are always the ones that get punished, aren't they? That's just the nature of the beast. But I think the best thing that they can do in the short term is bring in the German model of having 51% owned by fans or like fan trusts and things like this, to ensure the safety of each club, not just for the Super League, but look at like what the Glazers have done to Manchester United since they took over is nothing short of scandalous. The amount of money, like, and this is what we think. This is like we hear constantly how Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world financially, yet they can only spend a certain amount of money each year, 100 million net spend or whatever, because the Glazers are taking 300 million or whatever it is, stupid, every couple of years in dividends and stuff, and they're loading the club with debt and stuff. So if that can happen to the biggest club in the world, and the only reason that they've managed to stay afloat and keep going with that pressure is because they are so popular around the world. If another owner does that with a West Ham, no offense to them, or an Everton, or someone who's not as such a big worldwide brand, but lumbered them with a similar type of debt, they would crumble under that amount of debt made. And
they would, but the
quicker the Glazers are out of there is the better. The same for a few other owners as well, by the way.
The only problem you've got to say with that is how much it's going to cost supporters to get hold of it. You know what I mean? It's going to cost. It's far too much money. The price will go up because their valuation of the club will be astronomical. And this is where we've got now, because Man United, if Man United were going to get sold tomorrow, how much would it cost somebody? It would cost them billions to buy Manchester United tomorrow.
Well, the Glazers didn't even pay for it, did they? They
it cost them billions, and you've got debt as well on top of it. So they've got whoever comes in is fighting a losing battle straight away from the minute walking through the door.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the only way the thing with the owners and stuff will change, the only way it changes in the short term, is if the government back up their words. They were very quick to, just to come out publicly and get the good PR and stuff. So they need to back that up now. But just because the Super League's gone away, the government shouldn't then just go back to kind of staying out of it. They need to bring in legislation and things like this that can stop the Super League and anything similar happening in the future, protect every single football club from being abused by owners who are only interested in making money. And I think ultimately that's, if the government backs up their words, then there's a good place to start. Look, mate, we could talk about this for ages, of course, but you know what this show is, and there is a lot to talk about in the Championship. A couple of little bits of Championship news I just wanted to touch on before we go club by club. Cardiff City manager Mick McCarthy says he do not expect Harry Wilson and Ojo to return to the club next year. Is that a shock for you? Was surprised by that at all, or was that kind of what you were expecting?
They're not Mick McCarthy's type of players, so I'm not surprised one little bit. I think Mick's going to bring in his own type of player, what suits his philosophy, what suits his way of playing, his style of football. It doesn't surprise me at all. You seen straight away when Mick came in, Harry Wilson was on the bench straight away. Ojo started, but then drifted out the team and hasn't played much since. And Harry's a luxury player. He's a player who can play in a 10. He's a player who can play very well some games. He's a hit and miss player. What I find, he's a 9 or a 10 one week, or a 5 and a 6, or a 7 if you're lucky some other weeks. And Cardiff need that consistency to get out this division. You need 8s every single week with a few 9s and a few 10s. You look at Norwich City. You look at Bournemouth. You look at Watford. There's a reason here, by the way. You look at the consistency that them 3 teams have shown throughout the season. That's where they potentially going back up this year. Cardiff City were miles off last season after going down, and that's the issue that they've had and they've got now, because they weren't consistent enough with the players and the squad like the other teams have done coming down. The other teams have took more of a risk and kept the squad, nucleus of the squad together, and that's key for me.
Yeah, Holgate that says sounds like a huge rebuild for Boro, promotion push next season. Ashley Fletcher and Assombalonga have been announced that they're going. Again, I don't think that's a massive surprise for either, is it really?
Oh, listen, it's the same thing. Listen, you've got I've heard, I don't know if it's rumours, I don't know if it's true. I've heard the kind of money that these guys are on, and it's Premier League money. Middlesbrough Football Club aren't a Premier League football club anymore. They're far from it. They need to cut their cut accordingly. They need to bring in players who want to play for that football club. They want to bring in players who have a desire to get into the Premier League or to push to the top end of the Championship. Middlesbrough have had a fantastic season this season, absolutely fantastic season, and I think whoever says any differently this season, Middlesbrough fans, then I think they're a little bit deluded, because look at the last game of the season. They were on the brink of going down. They were very, very fortunate they didn't go down.
Oh God, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? For
So
me, where they are
close.
now, I see them midweek against Rotherham. Solid performance against a side who needs to win, by the way. Middlesbrough don't need to win. They went there to put in a decent display, and they've got some games coming up. I think they're going to play a couple of young players over there over the next couple of weeks and freshen things up. And good luck to them. And hopefully Neil can freshen things up in the summer and push Middlesbrough onto another level, because, as I say, I'm a huge Middlesbrough fan and want them to go on. But I want them to keep progressing, Si. Football's about progression. And Middlesbrough can progress next year in the playoffs. If they go up, great. If they don't, then as long as they get in the playoffs, I'm happy. Next year, the season after that, I expect promotion, because that's your progress and you step up. And you know what I mean? I'm all for that. You know what I mean? If teams have to try and stabilise, Cardiff are stabilising. Middlesbrough have to do the same, or they're currently doing it. You know what I mean? Some teams are a season or two ahead of each other, and that's just the way of football, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I gotta be honest. I'd be more positive about what Boro are going to do next year than what I am Cardiff. But I guess we'll just see how that progresses. And I know the last thing I wanted to mention, maybe before we go into the clubs, is ex Swansea City and QPR defender Angel Rangel has retired from football. Obviously, for obvious reasons, and not being a massive fan of him over the years, but you can't deny that as a Championship and Premier League footballer, he's outstanding over his time in England. And I think he's a very good footballer who did very well. I thought he was a very consistent performer for Swansea, particularly over the years. So wish him well in his next.
Oh, listen, Si, when Roberto Martinez brought him over, it was obviously that Spanish contingent, and you know what? He was he was a shining light. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, bombing on from the full-back area, scoring goals, setting things up, keeping clean. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really, really strong, and he got his opportunity in the Premier League. He's done really well, and yeah, good luck to him. You know, listen, it's about being entertained on the football pitch sometimes, and even when you're a rival football fan, sometimes you can take a step back sometimes and watch. You know what I mean? Listen, it's not nice to see comments. It's not nice to see people celebrating in your face and rubbing things in and things. But all rivalry aside, talent-wise, he was a very good player. He still is.
Yeah, he was a poor man's Ken McNaughton. But anyway, look at that. Reece just said exactly the same as I said that. See, good minds think alike. Mate, it's been a roller coaster week again in the Championship. We're going to start with Wycombe Wanderers, and incidentally, they played Swansea on Saturday and got a good draw, and then went and beat Bristol. What a week. 4 points. They are alive and kicking just about.
Yeah, listen, how on earth they're still in this in the fight is beyond me a little bit. But then you look at the downfall. You know what I mean? They're 2-0 up away from home against Swansea City. You know what I mean? With 10 minutes to go. If Wycombe Wanderers look back at the end of the season of games that they should have held on and maybe won or got the extra 2 points, that's one of them. At this time of the year, you know, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. You give a penalty away with 10 minutes to go, and then all of a sudden they're throwing the kitchen sink at you, and it's difficult to hold out. And Bristol City, you know what I mean, they scored a last minute winner in the penalty from back in Fenway. You know what I mean? I was so pleased for the man himself that, listen, the man's a legend within football in his own right. But I seen his interview after the game, and what did he say? 18 years it's taken him to score in the Championship. Do you know what? Fair play to him, because that's an achievement in itself, and he's going to take that with him for the rest of his career. Because there's every chance that could be his last Championship goal of his career. You just never know how things are going to pan out. If he goes down, he stays. If he goes to another club, it's something that no one can ever take away from him. And it's just given Wycombe an opportunity to stay up. Listen, yeah, I'm a realist. I don't believe they will. I think they'll go down tomorrow, but I hope they can drag it out another week. Or as long as I can, but I am a realist and do believe that they've left it far too late, and letting 67 goals in is the reason why they're not staying in this division.
100%, mate. Also, I just wanted to quickly say, a friend of the show, Alan, has just messaged me and just said, we're all about the giving on this show. If anyone likes this stolen from the poor, exploited by the rich away day apparel t-shirt, he's just given me a code for 20% off, which I'll put on the screen But it's only for tonight, just as a little thank you to us and to them. I appreciate that massively for him because he's the top guy. But
He is.
so a little gift for the people.
He's a
mate.
lovely gentleman. He's a lovely gentleman.
Yeah, so it's a little code. Basically, the code is ACEBIG6, all in capital letters, ACEBIG number 6. And you get 20% off this beautiful T-shirt. I like the red one as well, I've got to say. But yeah, Wickham, mates, they're clinging on. And I partly because of Joe Jacobson and Gareth Ainsworth, of course. But like, if they can somehow stay up, it will be one of the greatest escapes ever because they look dead and more dead and buried than Huddersfield ever did last year.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a manager very soon. Well, not very soon. In about probably 10 minutes' time, the way that the league's looking. But if Wickham stay up, then just close the manager of the year straight away because it's over.
Yeah,
if Wickham stay up.
I mean, and almost quite the opposite. Like I want Wickham to stay up. Sheffield Wednesday is our next team. They lost to Bristol, drew with Bristol, lost to beat Blackburn. So they had a good week as well, 4 points, which is frustrating because Wickham would have had much more of an impact last week if they picked up 4 points. But there we go. Yeah. It's one of those, isn't it?
Well, listen, they've had a good week, but I class Saturday as a bad one because the 1-0 up after 4 minutes. Henry Lansbury gets sent off after 20 minutes. Bannywan misses the penalty, the penultimate penalty. You can't afford to miss penalties. You can't afford at this time of the season against a team like Bristol City, the form they're in, the goals they're letting in against 10 men, and then they go and let a goal in 87 minutes. You know what I mean? That's Sheffield Wednesday. If they look back at the end of the season, they go down by 1 point or 2 points. That's the game which will come back and bite them on the backside because, yes, they came and beat Blackburn Rovers, which is great. But you've got to look at the points are dropping. So they can only get 48 points, which makes Birmingham safer than them. Huddersfield are nearly safer than them. That only leaves Derby, who they can catch very soon. You know what I mean? So if Derby pick up a couple of points, they're relegated anyway. It's out of their hands. Their season at the minute is out of their hands. And they've got to hope that...
frightening, mate,
it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought for every Sheffield Wednesday fan that even if they win 3 games, they could still go down.
Yeah, well, mate, I look at that and I got to say, I think it looks like Wickham, Sheffield Wednesday and Derby would be my picks to go down simply because Rotherham have got those 2 games in hand. They're only 4 points behind Derby. When you've got, at the end of that season, mate, when you're playing for to stay up, 4 points from 2 games in hand is not it's not wildly unachievable, is it?
So Sheffield Wednesday have got to take it to the last game. They've got to take it to the last game because they played Derby County away from home. They've got to take it to the last game. But before that, they've got Middlesbrough tomorrow. The way the Middlesbrough are playing, I wouldn't want to go to Neil Warnock's side. Neil doesn't care less. You know what I mean? Neil's a Sheffield United fan, by the way. Let's you know what I mean? Neil will want Sheffield Wednesday getting relegated tomorrow. There's no bones about it. So he's playing against the wrong manager tomorrow. You know what I mean? They'll be up against it. Then they play Nottingham Forest, who are still battling to sort their own futures out with players, and then they play Derby. But it could be all over before then. If Sheffield Wednesday goes to the last game, it's going to be
monumental.
Be a huge football game because both of those sides were Premier League clubs not so long ago, and one of them's going to be in League One.
Yeah, and that's what we say it every week. Sheffield Wednesday would already be down if they hadn't given those points back to them.
Yep.
So they've tried their best to keep them up. Geraint says he wants Wednesday to go down so that Cardiff can put a sneaky bid in for Barry Bannon. Yeah, that would be good. I'm having some of that. Next up, Rotherham, mates. They lost to Middlesbrough, lost to Birmingham, which is not ideal, but they have got those 2 games in hand, which is a little bit of a cushion.
The games are running out though. Unfortunately, I mean we talked about 4 games in hand. Now they've got 2 games in hand. They're playing too many games in short spaces of time. I watched them against Middlesbrough. They look tired. I watched the game at the weekend against Birmingham, and it was the way they let the last minute goal in. That there's times to shut up shop and take a point, or there's times to go gung ho and try and win. You know what I mean? Wickham went gung ho because Wickham went gung ho because they would have been relegated. They haven't got a goal. Rotherham wouldn't have got relegated if they'd got a point. You just got to churn points over because if you can just churn points over, you might get there. Because Derby would be panicking even more if you got 1 point closer to them, 2 points closer to them. You've got to keep the pressure there because now, yes, they've got 2 games in hand, but they've got to win. They've got to get 4 points from those 2 games to give themselves an opportunity, which is difficult.
Yeah, 100%. It's Derby County.
Listen, I don't know what's going on. I'll be honest. part of me wants Derby to turn it around because I want to see Wayne Rooney really excel as a manager and as a coach because he's a legend as a footballer.
I want him to get a
But-
full season, but I don't know if he's going to get that anyway. If they stay up or get down because they've been so bad.
Yeah, it's the side. They're not even losing games. They're losing at a whimper. You know what I mean? The performances are disastrous. The way that they're playing is awful. The goals they're letting in are scandalous. There's no. It must be an absolute nightmare watching these games because every single Derby fans expecting them to turn it around because the players. You know what I mean? The Preston North End game, they got absolutely battered from minute 1 to minute 90, and it was poor. You've got your Kazim Richards, you've got your Knight, who's a young player, you've got your Lawrence, international footballer, you've got your Roberts, your Shinnie. They've got good players on the pitch. They've got your Marshall in goal, your Wisdom, ex-Liverpool defender. All these kind of players should be performing better. You know, I mean, they're underachieving massively. They need to sort themselves out because they're letting the football club down, they're letting Wayne down, and they're letting themselves down.
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's one of those, isn't it? Like I've mentioned before, I want them to stay up. So I would like to see. I've talked about before. I'm fed up of seeing the same managers go round and round and round and round, getting this, getting all the jobs. I want to see new blood. I want to see new managers. I want to see John Sheridan get that big job. But
if they go down, he's got a chance. By the way, he might get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Put your money on him. Put your money on him.
I got to say, I think Wayne Rooney's going to be sacked in the summer. Either way.
It's just listen.
Derby have been that bad recently.
Yeah.
That
Unless he stays up and the club give him a huge transfer kitty to sort that club out. There's too much to sort out as a young manager. They need somebody to go in and trailblaze that whole squad. Good shout, by the way, Rob. Good shout.
John Sheridan for Spurs.
I think it's happening. Let's get it trending. Let's trend that.
Yeah. John Sheridan for Spurs. I still am flabbergasted that Jose Mourinho is not the Tottenham manager going into that final.
No.
It leaves a bit of a side. Like, I'm no Jose.
I'm not going to watch it. I'm not watching it now. I'm going on strike.
Taste, mate.
Yeah, I'm going on strike. I'm not watching it because of it. I was. Listen, I love to watch Mourinho run up and down the touchline celebrating against big. He just seems to do it all the time. He's done it against Liverpool. He's done it against Man United. I'd love to see it at Wembley. You know what I mean? It just would be great, but I just can't.
It does seem like it was the Super League related, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And we didn't even talk about Ed Woodward, this shit house. I broke my rule for the first time, like in 130 odd shows. Damn it. Huddersfield Town, mate, next. 2 wins. A win and a loss.
Yeah, listen, I didn't expect them to go to Nottingham Forest and get a result at all. But then they got the result going into the second game against Barnsley with a bit of confidence. You play against a side who just freely attacks you, and Huddersfield don't like defending. You know what I mean? Unless they're going forward and they're comfortable. You know what I mean? They sit back. Barnsley hit them on the break and got the winning goal with just about 25 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go. So no disgrace losing to Barnsley, by the way. But I think the Huddersfield win at Nottingham Forest is just giving them that little bit of a cushion to stay up for me. I think they probably need one more win to definitely stay up.
I thought, by the way, Forest were dreadful against Huddersfield. I thought they were really, really poor.
Yeah, they've been for a while.
But I think that's what you get when you've got nothing to play for as well. Birmingham City, mate.
Fabulous week. Listen, last week we talked about them beating Stoke. This week they're beating Rotherham away with a last minute winner away from home, and then at home the draw with Nottingham Forest. It could have been better, by the way, because it was a loose grab penalty in the 97th minute, which I didn't think it was a penalty, by the way. I thought it was very, very soft. But listen, you take a point. I've said earlier on about churning points away. If Birmingham keep churning points, they're going to stay up. I think they'll stay up anyway, but it's another point towards safety. You know what I mean? If you go gung ho and you lose the game, you've lost a point. Just keep churning points over. It's important.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Next up is Nottingham Forest. They've had they never recovered from the start they had to the season.
No.
But I would imagine they're looking at next season now just as a rebuild and try and get some good players in the summer to strengthen in the right places. And that's the ultimate, and you can't blame them for looking to that because they're not going to go down. They're not going to go up. They may as well start planning for. In fact, they'd be reckless if they weren't planning for next season.
Oh, listen, you've got some very good footballers in that side. You know what I mean? Premier League footballers potentially. You know what I mean? Ex-Premier League footballers in that group. International footballers. they're just not getting together as they need to do it. I think Chris Hughton, when he gets a pre-season behind him, he gets a philosophy, he gets his proper team week in, week out playing the way that he wants them to do it. I think they'll get some positive results and start moving up that league and show some progress. But to lose at home at Huddersfield was a bad result. To go away to Birmingham and to score at the last minute, Lewis grabbing penalty, very good penalty, but I didn't think they deserved anything from the game. But it's a point, is a point, and with that point, I think 50 points is your safe mark now. So I can't, they won't go down.
No. Next to Blackburn, they had a good win against Derby and a good performance, actually, very good. And then they lost to Sheffield Wednesday, as has been their season all over.
It's 50-50. Win one, lose one. And Tony must be frustrated. There's another manager who's going to be under severe pressure come the summer because will they give him another season to work with the players that he's got? Because he's got some very good footballers, by the way. You know what I mean? He's got Champions League players. He's got people who've won titles. He's got people who've played for England. He's He's got probably the hot shot in the division in Armstrong. So it's going to be an interesting one if the managers men who go around come the summer. But Blackburn Rovers should be doing better, by the way.
I will just quickly say I thought Sam Gallagher was absolutely superb against Derby County. As one of the I don't want to get too hyperbole, but one of the great championship individual performances. I thought he was very, very good. Okay. Like it a lot, mate. Next up, we have Bristol City. They may as well give up their season and start again.
Coventry City, isn't it? Isn't that Coventry? Have you got Bristol on yours?
I got Bristol on mine. The Coventry are above them.
Oh, okay. I'll go Bristol City. Yeah, not a very good week. Obviously, drawing a defeat against two sides in the bottom three. But probably a good result against Sheffield Wednesday.
Performances, though, mate, as well as the results.
We had 10 men. Lansbury got sent off, so you can probably say the Sheffield Wednesday one's a good result. With playing with 10 men for long periods and getting that equaliser late on. But to go to Wickham and lose it the way they lost it in the last minute and not to be dominating teams down the bottom of the league, it must be frustrating for Nigel. But he's got a big job in the summer, rebuild, start
big
again.
Job.
So I'm sure. But the right man's in charge. I'm 100% there. You know what I mean? They've got the right manager in charge to do something special at that football club.
If you tell me that, mate, I will believe you. The results do not tell me that. Since he's come in.
But it's not.
And the performances, by the way.
But it's not his players. It's not his players, though. I think it's easy to blame a manager. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can look at Mick McCarthy.
Those players haven't performed all season, by the way.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So you can look at Cardiff City's players. You know what I mean? If those players perform consistently all season,
don't start me. Don't
you know
start
what I
me.
mean? You know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. But then we go to a team for me. You know what I mean? I spoke about manager of the season. Mark Robbins, by the way, is picking the best time ever to pick up 3 wins on the bounce because obviously last weekend midweek they beat Coventry City. They beat Rotherham away. This week they beat Barnsley, which is an unbelievable result, by the way. And then they go away to Stoke City and win 3-2. An absolutely amazing week for Coventry City fans, players.
Amazing season, mate.
That has cemented their place in the Championship next season. So I couldn't be more pleased for a football club who's had its problems over the last couple of seasons. Absolutely amazing achievement.
For them to not be involved in the last day shenanigans, with relegation and stuff, that is a phenomenal achievement by Mark Robbins and his team because Coventry were favourites to go down. They got no money. They're not playing in their own ground. Everything's against them. But they've now. I don't think they've been in the bottom 3 all season. Certainly not for any long period of time. But they've also been very enjoyable to watch. They've played some great stuff. They've got some really good young players as well. They've made me a fan of the way they play. And really happy that they look like they're going to be nicely safe. Preston North End up next, mate.
Yeah, listen, I was extremely critical of Preston North End's players after they got beat 5-0 against Brentford. I thought it was shocking. I thought they were absolutely disgraceful. But you know what? 2 clean sheets, 4 points in 2 games, 0-0 at Stoke, 3-0 against Derby. Credit where credit's due, by the way, because they could have easily down tools for the rest of the season and given up, nothing to play for. But they've got themselves a platform now and show how good they are. Because they've got some very good footballers. Preston North End. You've got your Browns, you've got your Whitemans, your Ched Evans, your Barkhausen. You know what I mean? Your Maguires. They've got some very talented footballers in that group. They just need to show it more often and show what they did last season, because last season was an amazing season. This season they've had a little bit of a lull because they didn't get in the playoffs, and next season it's up to them to go and kick on to another level. Scott Sinclair, you know what I mean? They've got the most exciting wingers in the Championship at the minute for me.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that completely. Next up is Stoke. Lost to Coventry, drew with Preston. Their season's fizzling out. Fizzle.
Michael O'Neill. I seen an interview with Michael O'Neill, and he looked a lost soul. He didn't have the answers.
Frustrated.
He didn't have the answers what the report was asking him about what's going wrong. He's obviously going to have a huge rebuilding job because the owners are obviously wealthy people. Do they give the manager some financial backing? Is he going to get rid of players before he brings them in? It's going to be an interesting one because Stoke have massively underachieved for the last few seasons. On paper, they've had the best team in the Championship. Next year, they'll probably not have the strongest team, but will do better than they have in the previous seasons, which doesn't define logic really. But it's a huge job. But I believe they've got the right person in charge again. That Michael O'Neill showed his quality in Northern Ireland with lesser players, so I'm sure he can show that again in the Championship next year.
Yeah, 100%. Ultimately, mate, with Stoke, my overall opinion now is that they've not just underachieved, but they've been pretty poor for 2 seasons, 3 seasons. It's time for the players to take some of that criticism and the manager to be backed. So for me, they should back Michael O'Neill. And if that means he needs to get rid of 8 players and bring in 8 players, then that's what they do.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's time for them to take the responsibility. Next up is Luton Town, mate. 4 points this week.
Yeah, listen, I've just spoke about Mark Robbins, about the amazing job he's done. Nathan Jones has done an absolute phenomenal job this year. He's playing some attractive football. He's keeping clean sheets quite regularly. He's kept 2 this week, once against Watford, which doesn't happen very often, and once against Reading as well, which doesn't happen as well. So he's had a fantastic week. 2 really tough games, picked 4 points up, and yeah, just churning the season out. Luton Town have got nothing to play for now. You know what I mean? They can't get in the playoffs. They can't go down. So they're playing with a little bit of freedom. If I'm being ultra critical, I'd like them to score more goals. Obviously, Collins up front scores the majority of their goals. They've scored 36 goals this season, which is the lowest, probably one of the lowest in the league. You know what I mean? Wickham has scored 34, which tells the story how less goals. But that shows defensively they're getting it right. If they can just score a few more goals, they can
100%.
be further up the league. So
I also think if Luton could bag themselves like a 25-goal a season striker, they've no reason why they couldn't be challenging for a playoff place next year, because they've shown that defensively they're exceptionally solid. They just need someone who can bang in those goals. They could just do a bit of wheeling and dealing, get themselves a winger and a striker. I really feel they could do something next year.
So look, wind the clock back to May last year, 2020 May last year. Last game of the season, we had Luton Town stayed up on the last game of the season. Barnsley stayed on the last game of the season, and Middlesbrough stayed up on the last game of the season. And look at all them 3 clubs are inside the top 12 this year. So listen, it's not all doom and gloom if you stay up on the last game of the season this year. It's about progression and kicking on next year. And sometimes a bad season one season can ignite you for next season.
100%, mate. That's absolutely spot on. Next is Millwall. Bad week.
Yeah, not a great week. They're very hit and miss for me, Millwall. And I can't really work them out. You know what I mean? Gary Howarth's gone in and he's done a good job. But it's frustrating, Si, in terms of they've got. We speak about him all the time, don't we? Jed Wallace, you know that he's one of the standout players. But when he's not scoring, he's not creating chances. They're 0-0 against Brentford away, which is a good result. Defensively very strong there, but they play against Bournemouth. They tried to attack Bournemouth and got beat 4-1, and every time Bournemouth went forward, they looked like they were going to score. So you did play against 2 good sides, but difficult and a hard one to swallow when you get beat heavily and only take 1 point off 2 games. Difficult one.
Indeed, mate. Middlesbrough.
Yeah, listen, the curse of QPR. QPR were dominating in the first half. I thought they were very, very good. Deserved to be 2-1 ahead. They went down to 10 men. After about an hour, they just clung on. Frustrated Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough tried to throw things at them. Just couldn't get any change out of them at all. So fair play to them on that one. But then they went to Rotherham. I didn't really expect much with the way that Rotherham were needing the results and wanting to play. And I thought Middlesbrough down tools a little bit with no winning 5. But I thought Neil got his play spot on, his tactics spot on. He wanted to win. Obviously, he loves his Yorkshire derbies. He's loved playing against sides like Rotherham, and yeah, he got a positive result. So Pleased that they turned the fortunes around, because I didn't want just a damn squid end to the season. I wanted them to really, really push and give some younger players the opportunity. And I'm so glad now that Neil's come out publicly and said that he's not going to play players who aren't going to be there next year. And that's no slang on the players, by the way. I just think if you're not going to be there next year, what's the point?
Yeah, now's the time when you've got nothing really to play for. You blood in the youngsters, maybe give a couple of players who've been on the bench all season, who've turned up week in, week out, and and really put the effort in training. They've been in the squad, but they haven't had the game time. That's when you repay that effort and loyalty, don't you? Now,
but for two reasons, Si, as well.
youngsters.
For two reasons: for yourself, for your own selfish reasons, for the football
Of
club,
course.
but also for the players. Because if Britt or Ashley get an injury tomorrow, then they potentially won't get a club next season. So you've got to you've got to look after each other. And I think Neil's been quite respectful towards the players as well as his own football club. So I think he's done it in the right way.
Yeah, 100%. Talking of damp squids, next up is Cardiff City, mate. I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm going to leave the majority to you, because I'm really frustrated by the performances, the contact, everything.
It's the lack of leadership from me. Listen, the late goals, 93rd minute equaliser against Reading, which obviously was a Friday game, which we didn't speak about, but we touched on obviously with the way it was, and then obviously another, I wouldn't say late goal, but it's the way that they let goals in straight after games, straight after their own goals. You know what I mean? Cardiff scored 82, let a goal in straight away. Cardiff scored 57 against Brentford, I believe, and then Brentford equalised through Fosu straight away. The worst time as a team is after you score. You know what I mean? You relax a little bit. You know what I mean? But with Mick McCarthy in charge, I expect the team to be well up for after scoring a goal, that you know exactly what the other team's going to do. That you should be ready for action. You know what I mean? He's got experienced players in the back line. He's got an experienced goalkeeper. He's got experience in midfield. He's got a centre forward who's an international footballer. You've got players on loan from Liverpool. It's so frustrating, side, because on paper you expect them to go ahead. You expect them to see games out like they did under Neil Warnock. The Cardiff City were the masters under Neil Warnock. That when they were ahead, that was it. It was game over, and you knew it. And why isn't that the case now under a different manager who plays a similar way? It's just every time you go 1-0 ahead, you're expecting the other team to score straight away. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, it irks me, mate. It irks me, but it is what it is. Sean Morrison is obviously a big blow, but as I say to Gavin about Liverpool and any other team, injuries are part and parcel of the game. Shouldn't be used as an excuse for not performing, because Cardiff have got a few decent centre backs for Championship level. So Sean Morrison shouldn't be that much of a miss that Cardiff City have suddenly completely dropped off the end of the season. Next up, QPR, mate, who are having a really good, strong finish to the season.
Oh wow! Listen, beat Middlesbrough and then go and beat Swansea. So I think they want
that playoff place, mate, but I think it's too late.
It's just QPR all over. That if they could have started this run a little bit earlier, they potentially could have got into it. But yeah, I do believe it's far too late. I can't see them getting into it. I just believe it's a little bit too late for them. But listen, you can only beat what's in front of you, and they beat Middlesbrough comfortably for me. I thought they were the best side, and then to beat Swansea was a fabulous result. Indeed,
mate. Reading, can they still do it?
Well, mathematically, yes. In my opinion, no. They've dropped too many silly points. You look at. I wouldn't call Cardiff a silly point, but they probably expected to win the game. They had more to play for in that game than Cardiff City did. You know what I mean? They'll say it's a point gain because they got a late equaliser. You go to Luton, away from home. You've got to go and win the game. You know what I mean? Luton have had a good season, of course they are. But if you have got aspirations to get in the playoffs, to get to the Premier League, you've got to go to Luton Town and win. You know what I mean? Look at the last 7 games, Si. Lost against Birmingham, drew against QPR, drew against Barnsley, beat Derby, lost against Watford, drew against Cardiff, drew against Luton Town. You've got to do better than that to get in the playoffs at this time of the season.
Spot on, mate. Spot on, indeed. A great finish to the season, though, by QPR. And I think Reading, Alan made a really interesting comment just now. He said if Reading can keep their players together, maybe strengthen a little bit, they got a really good chance of being right up in the mix next year, because they've got a couple of cracking They got a couple of cracking young players, and they got a couple of cracking already established players. It's imperative they keep that squad together and then strengthen it with a couple, because they've had a good season. They haven't had the traditional fall off, which we discussed last season and at the start of this season, where they start like a house on fire, and then traditionally they kind of fall off a bit. Sometimes they're in the playoffs, sometimes they're not. Whereas this year they've been strong all the way through, but they, like you said, they've probably conceded too many sloppy goals.
It's difficult. It's difficult to stay in the top six for all season. You know what I mean? They were top of the league, and then you know what I mean. So they've had a great season. They'll be frustrated with the way that it's finished, but you've got to see the positives out of it, and hopefully they can finish the season strongly. And but like you said, I agree with you. They've got to keep the players at that football club. You know what I mean? Your Metes, who scores all the goals, your Morrisons, obviously, who had on the show on a Monday night. You know what I mean? Who's been a stalwart at the back. You know what I mean? The younger players who've had a solid season. You can't afford to let them go to bigger teams, or teams who come down, or Premier League sides. You know what I mean? You've got to keep the players hungry, playing week in, week out for Reading to progress next season.
Spot on, mate. A team which, obviously, with Cardiff having nothing to play for, Barnsley is my team for the rest of the season. I cannot tell you how much I want them to go up in the playoffs. They picked up a win against Huddersfield when they looked like they were struggling. Obviously, they lost to Coventry, but they are still there, still in that sixth place, mate.
Yeah, I was worried about them side, to be honest. After they got beat against Coventry City, I thought, they're coming up against a Yorkshire derby. It'll be a difficult one against Huddersfield, but they turned it around. I thought they're excellent. They're still in there. They've got 3 games to go. They've got another Yorkshire derby tomorrow against Rotherham. I think a win tomorrow, and I think they'll be more or less home and dry. So obviously it depends on how Reading get on, but I just believe another 3 points for me. I think 77 points will get them in the playoffs, and if it doesn't, then it's a phenomenal achievement whoever catches them up.
Absolutely. Another team who's really, really fading fast is Brentford, mate. They looked really, I think we were talking about them as potentially challenging Norwich for an automatic, for the championship and automatic place. And they've just faded and faded and faded. And yeah, not the best finish to the season, not the best form going into the playoffs either.
No, listen, 6 draws out of 7 games. You know what I mean? That's 12 points. They've dropped 12 points. You can't afford to drop that many points at this time of the season. You know what I mean? The goals that they've scored the majority of the season, Mwumba, Tony, Canos, all these kind of players, they need to step up all of the time. You know what I mean? Last season, Ollie Watkins, very consistently. Ben Rama, consistent. You know what I mean? These kind of players were doing it week in, week out, all the way through the season. And it was just a travesty that they didn't get over that line against Fulham at the end of the season, because they thoroughly deserved it. But this could work in their favour. They could be having their bad blip now. They could get in the playoffs and they could go up, because they're not playing as well as they did last year. But there could be a twist in the playoff saga. I wouldn't like to play them in the playoffs. Let's be honest there, because they're so unpredictable. They can score goals. They can defend when they need to. But they are, at the minute, they've dropped too many points to fight for the top 2 against our average size at the minute. We're nothing to play for.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't want to play Barnsley or Bournemouth in those playoffs, I've got to be honest. Next up is them down the road in West Wales. Swansea City had a poor week. Only picking up 1 point, and they were very, very poor against Wickham and QPR as well. Yeah.
And listen, a terrible week in terms of the timing of the season. You know what I mean? They still had an opportunity to get in second place, because obviously Watford were playing Norwich as well. So a few points this week would have put the pressure on them. So yeah, terrible week at really bad time, and they can't afford to go into the playoffs in this kind of run.
Yeah, question, mate. Have they bottled automatics, or have they just been beaten by a better side to the automatic playoff place? Because I got to be honest, I thought they were going to pinch that automatic space, and I do feel a bit like they bottled it a bit.
Well, all you can do is go in the last 2 games. You know what I mean? They've dropped 5 points in the last 2 games. You stick 5 points onto what they've got now, is that puts them on 81. You know what I mean? 81 points, and we're putting them 4 points behind. So for me, they've bottled the last 2 games.
Yeah, 100%. Donna says Michael Morrison was in the Sky studio for Cardiff Reading game. Not sure if you knew that. And well, he was on.
He did the next game as well for Birmingham against Rotherham as well on the Sunday. So he did both.
Excellent.
He had a weekend.
He speaks very well, doesn't he?
He's really good. Yeah. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the show with him.
We made him.
That's it, mate.
We made him.
Sky didn't want him till he came on our show. Next up is Bournemouth. They are on fire and they look the team to avoid in the playoffs.
Well, listen, it's the amount of goals they're scoring, Si. You know what I mean? They went to Norwich City. Listen, I'm not saying it's about timing sometimes. They go to Norwich City. Norwich have just been promoted a couple of hours before. The players were obviously their heads were turned and they were looking for the celebrations after the game and comfortably beat them against 10 men. Then they play Millwall away, score another hatful of goals, another 4 this week. So 7 goals in 2 games. They're scoring goals, they're winning games, they're playing with confidence. It's going to be a difficult one whoever does play Bournemouth in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And David Brooks back. I think he is one of the most underrated players in the Championship and Football League pyramid. He's a phenomenal footballer, and I know Bournemouth have been on form anyway, but he makes a big difference to the way they play going forward, and that's a massive lift to get a player of that quality back for the playoffs.
It's like a new signing. It's like a new signing side because he scores goals, he creates chances, he's got the lot. You know,
gives them something, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
something
got pace.
Different.
He's very, very good.
Next up is Watford in that automatic place at the moment.
Yeah, listen, they got beat by Luton, which was a surprise result of the weekend for me. And then they go to Norwich, which I just spoke about there about timing. They needed to win. Norwich would have won the league if they'd have beaten them. Watford went there, comfortably beat them. I think Norwich were obviously still hung over with the celebrations from the weekend. But listen, they've earned it. They've got what they wanted. It's not about winning the league. It's all about promotion. It's all about getting that Holy Grail and getting to the Premier League. For me, it doesn't matter if somebody offered me second, guaranteed, I'd snap their hands off because it's about getting the Premier League. And Watford have just got a few more results to get over the line because what they need another 2 points to guarantee the promotion, which they could get tomorrow, unless Bournemouth don't beat who they play, because they play Norwich.
Would be Geraint, in fairness to him, has been saying all season that the 3 teams that came down will be the 3 teams to go up.
Yeah.
And it does look that way at the moment.
Yeah.
Gaz says, Swansea bottled it, definitely, bruv. Autos was there. Brooks in the summer. Helped West Ham sign Brooks in the summer. Oof, controversial. They do like a young footballer, do West Ham, don't they? So from the Championship, so you never know.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think they've used Jared Bowen and Ben Rama to a lesser extent quite well. They give them time to bed in, and then they've let them loose, as it were.
Yeah.
Norwich City promoted from the Championship. Been strong all season, mate.
Listen, let's forget about the last 2 results because I don't think you can really fully understand about the achievement that Norwich City have done, how consistent they've been all season, and to be honest, when you're already given promotion, your head's turned straight away. You relax a little bit. You don't need to perform. It's not about getting that medal to win the league. It's about getting back in the Premier League. The Premier League is a place that every footballer wants to go and play. You know what I mean? It's not about winning the Championship and getting, you know what I mean? Listen, it's a bonus if you do, but it's all about getting in the Premier League, and you just show from the last two performances, not results, performances that it's the pressure's off. There's no shackles on them at all. They don't care. It's about what they've achieved all season, and to be promoted as early as they are, by the way, is an unbelievable achievement and shows how strong they've been. So full credit to them, fully deserved, and let's see who joins them. It's going to be interesting if it is the 3 teams who came down, because I'm not sure it has happened before, by the way.
Yeah, I just hope that on the last day of the season, there's enough going on for us to do a watch along, because that was a lot of fun last year. Yeah, we need at least something to be on it. Looks like the relegation could be done and dusted, apart from that last place, like Derby could be fighting. Hopefully I'll go to that Derby Rotherham game, so at least we'll have that. We can just watch that and get involved in it and have a chat with the peeps. But that's your Championship football for the week. Let's go for 2 ups, 2 downs, mate. Who are your downs? People in the comments, let us know your ups and downs. Sorry, mate.
My first down, I've gone for Derby County. I just think the whole thing about the football club at the minute is just wrong. There's
Shambles.
just something which is just fundamentally wrong, and you can't always blame the manager. You know what I mean? The manager takes the blame. He stands there and he's got broad shoulders. He will take the blame, but I think the players and the owner and the previous owner have got a huge responsibility to take for what's going on this football pitch.
100%. Yeah, I went with Derby, stroke Wayne Rooney. He's got to take, whilst I don't blame him, or he shouldn't take responsibility for the state of the football club, and I think there is a big problem within the football club at its core, but he has to take responsibility for the performance of his team, and they have been dreadful the last couple of weeks. When they're fighting relegation, they shouldn't be fighting relegation on several levels. They're from the size of the club, from the quality of the squad, but also the position they were in when he came in. They weren't in the relegation zone then, you know what I mean? Like they've been dragged into it under his watch, and I think he does need to take a bit of responsibility for that.
Yeah, I agree.
My second down, mate.
I've gone for Swansea City because I just think at the time of the year, I didn't expect them to have a blip as vicious as they are doing, and you can't afford to drop points because, yes, the league's shaping up. You know what I mean? You don't want to pick somebody up in the playoffs who's in form, and if that's the team in sixth place, because at the minute they're going to play Brentford, but it's going to change. They could dictate where they want to be, but you can only dictate that by winning games. You can't be under pressure by going into the playoffs, not performing the way that you need to perform, and at the minute they're not playing half as well as they can do.
Yeah, I've gone for Swansea City. They had a real opportunity to get that automatic position and go up with no pressure, basically, avoid the playoffs. And I feel like whether they've got in their own heads or whether they just haven't been up for it, they just haven't been good enough when it mattered. And now it looks like they're going to have to go up through the playoffs. But we shall see. A few little shouts from the people. Reece David Evans says, fans' opinion finally be taken serious. Alan says, Bournemouth and Barnsley in the playoffs. Someone else said, so my first up is what Reece has said there, is Akinfenwa finally scoring in the Championship. That was phenomenal to see. Wickham, and he says Wycombe's still fighting. They might go down, but they've done themselves proud. Donna says her up is the Super League going. Down is the new Champions League format. Yes, 100%. So yeah, my first up is Akinfenwa, mate, scoring in the Championship. What's yours?
I was going to do that one, but I'll change it to Mark Robbins. I think he's had two fabulous game results this week. He's got Coventry City safe, and he's had a phenomenal season. But just this week alone has shown how well he's done as a manager and how well his football club's done. So Mark Robbins and his football team.
Indeed, a great shout, mate. My second up is a double whammy. Sam Gallagher of Blackburn Rovers and David Brooks of Bournemouth, both phenomenal, had a big impact on their teams. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is having an impact on your team's outcomes in matches.
Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, they're my double up. Who's your second up, mate? Sorry.
My second up is just two words: Norwich City.
Can't fault you. Cannot fault you there, my friend, because they are promoted, probably going to be champions. So yes. A couple of little scheduling notes as we finish. Monday evening, 7:30 p.m, Andy Campbell Football Show. Myself and young Mr. Campbell will be joined by former Cardiff City striker Gavin Gordon. Cannot wait. It's going to be a great show, mate.
Oh, listen, when I approached Gav, I think Gav was a little bit nervous about coming on. He'd watched the show a few times and seen what it's all about now, and he's really looking forward to it. I've told him that he needs to celebrate the career he's had. He needs to tell people and shout from the rooftops the goals he scored and the career he's had. So, you know what I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, to talk to a player who's had a very good career. He's a lovely person, ex-teammate of mine. So I'm just hoping he doesn't have any stories or dirt on me, to be honest. Yeah,
Reece and Donna were trying to guess it on Monday, and Reece guessed right, I think, on like Tuesday. And he said it's been driving him mad all week, waiting to find out if he got it right.
We have people hanging on. Normally, we did it early this week, by the way. Normally it's Thursday, but we did it. We announced it on Wednesday. So yeah.
And yeah, we got a new episode of My Story out on Sunday as well. I was joined by current Notts cricketer Luke Fletcher for a chat, and I got to say, what a story he's got. We talked about all sorts, including his book, which he released during lockdown, as well as getting smashed in the head by a cricket ball when he was bowling, live on Sky Sports, by the way. Brutal, but what a lovely guy, and he's got a great story to tell. Really enjoyed that, and he's probably playing now actually as we speak. But yeah, he joined me, and that's out on Sunday, 8 o'clock. And of course, tonight, straight after, well, it's going to be 9 o'clock start. Myself and former Cardiff City defender, Scotland international Kevin McNaughton will join me for 60 minutes of unscripted fun. Always a good time. Andy Campbell, it's been my absolute pleasure, my friend.
Oh, I loved it. Listen, to talk about something that I've got a massive passion in. I love the Championship, by the way. I love football in general, but the Championship's like it's the best league in the world. It gives us so much joy. I've been lucky enough to play in it quite a long time in my career, but it's the gift what keeps on giving. You know what I mean? It's so many highs, so many lows. There's so many good teams, and when you get to really to delve deep into it, you know what I mean? Like we all have as football fans, Cardiff fans, Middlesbrough fans, Norwich fans. You know what I mean? That sometimes when you get promoted, you don't really want to leave because you know how exciting it is.
100%, mate. And yeah, I love talking about the Championship. Love doing the shows, as you know, mate. And it's been thoroughly enjoyable as ever. Can't wait for Monday. Hope the people will join us. And of course, most importantly, spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel. And of course, if you would like your own version of this, stolen from the poor, exploited by the rich away day apparel t-shirt is beautiful, available in several different colors. You can get 20% off if you use this code. It's only available for tonight till 10 o'clock as a special little treat for viewers of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. So nice one for that, Alan. Really appreciate it. But most importantly, guys, if you really want to support the show and the channel, take a look at our sponsor, Bespoke Financial, and see if they've got anything for you. Because, like I've mentioned, it's obviously an incredibly tough year or so we're coming out of now, and it's a great time to just check your insurance needs and if there's any cover, things like that, which might be able to help you. Just give yourself a bit of protection as we go into a whole new world, as it were. Guys, phenomenal. Love it. Love you. And we'll be back on Monday. Hopefully see you all in about 40 minutes, including you, Mr. Campbell. You should watch too.
I do watch sometimes.
X-rated content, innit? You've got to put the kids to bed. Guys, always a pleasure. Be good. Keep it real. See you soon.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.